Hey, it says we're live, then we must be live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this. What is this, our second video, our second live? And I don't even know what we're calling it. We're calling it Friday Live. I actually want to call it Friday Night Live, but it's night where I am, but it's not night where you guys, a lot of you are. Oh, it's night where some of us are. Anyway, this is our live seminar class Q&A. And every week, I'm going to be talking about what we talked about in our Music Motivating Monday video. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight. But I am so excited. And as a matter of fact, before I even get started, I want to send this comment. There's the link to get our 3 free practice tools just for watching this video. Now, could you just go get the 3 free practice tools and leave the video? Yes, but why would you do that? I'm going to drop some serious knowledge on you guys tonight, some serious practice tips, and actually something that could truly change your musical life as it has changed mine. And I'm going to give you a personal story about how important this little practice, I don't even call it a tip, but this strategy is. We'll get to it. Oh, by the way, my name's Christopher Maloney from, I don't know why I'm pointing at Practice Warriors. Christopher Maloney from PracticeWarriors.com, where we teach you how to practice like the pros. Thank you so much for watching this live video. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. Really love our friends here, our subscribers on YouTube. We just did the live broadcast on Instagram and Facebook simultaneously. It was great fun. Had a lot of viewers there, so that was cool. We got a couple people logging in now. Feel free during the broadcast to drop question in the comments. Anything you want to know. I've got a wide variety of experience, and let me talk a little bit about that. I hate sort of talking about my CV and my experience because it kind of sounds a little like bragging, but there's a lot of folks talking to you about, you should learn this with music and you should learn this with music. And you don't have to like have a big CV or have played with a lot of people to be a great teacher and to have wonderful advice and all this stuff. But I do think experience counts, especially in developing a site like PracticeWarriors.com, which is, as far as I know, the only website in the world that practices only on practicing strategies for all instruments. We don't teach you how to play your instrument. I don't show you how to play a C chord on the guitar or play long notes on a trumpet or anything on a piano. The assumption is that you're already taking private lessons or working on stuff on your own. And what we do at PracticeWarriors.com is like we show you basically any and all practice strategies that have been used by professional musicians for centuries, right? That some of you guys just like, oh, I never thought to do that. Oh, that's fantastic. And you've learned a scale and you're bored playing scales, like who isn't? And we show you 30, like 20, I said 25, I think it's like 25 videos on how you can practice a scale. All different fun ways that you can do it. So I developed the Practice Warriors site basically from about 35 years of professional experience. As a musician, I've recorded or performed with Dweezil Zap, Lisa Loeb, Cosmo Squad, Hardline, and members of Journey, Earth, Wind and Fire, Savage Garden, In Excess, New Kids on the Block, Porcupine Tree, The Alan Parsons Project, Enough's Enough, Special Effects, UFO, and many, many more. I've toured the world many times over and worked with some of the best folks around. Again, I don't say that to impress you, but just to show you that what I've kind of experienced a lot of things in music, and I can help you whether you join Practice Warriors or just ask questions in the comments. You ever want to know what it's like to be on tour or record with some of these folks? Ask away in the comments. Now, the funny thing is all that experience is great, but it doesn't mean I'm necessarily a great teacher. Right? Have you guys ever worked with someone who was a great player and yet they couldn't explain simple concepts to you, or they didn't have the patience to do it? But as an educator, I worked for over 15 years at the Musicians Institute in Los Angeles, one of the world's most innovative music schools. And I was the head of the prestigious Encore program for over 10 years. I ran my own music school where I've taught everyone from the age of 3 to 93. Some of my former students have gone on to play with people like Rihanna, Lady Gaga, Jay-Z, 30 Seconds to Mars, Liz Phair, all different types of people. So I've taught people basically who are like drooling on their instruments to like some of the top professionals in the world. I've written instructional books for Hal Leonard, all kinds of stuff. I just feel like I'm bragging, but I got to get used to it because I just want you guys to know that, look, a lot of people tell you, this is what you should do. I'm telling you, look, here is the experience to back up some of the things that I teach on the Practice Warriors website and some nuggets that I'll be kind of laying on you today in this live video. I've also got a lot of songwriting experience. My song's been placed in 50 different countries, American programs like CNN, NBC Sports, Saturday Night Live, and all of that. So if you have songwriting questions, drop them in the comments. If you want to know about performing rights organizations to get paid for your songs, drop them in the comments. If you want to know what it's like teaching a 5-year-old kid drawing on his guitar, leave it in the comments. I got you. And again, like I always say, if I don't know the answer, I'll make it up. Okay. I also want to let you know again about the 3 bonus items. I just dropped the link in the comments for checking out this video. And if you're watching this anytime on Friday before midnight, click on that link and you can get 3 free bonus, of course they're bonus, 3 free practice tools. And I don't want to keep talking about this. I want to get ready to the topic. I'll talk a little bit more about this later. Okay, so the topic on this week's Music Motivating Monday was something called finding a music mentor. This to me is something that is really never talked about. I don't see blogs about it. I don't hear people talking about this at all. Now, it's not that it's not happening. It's not that people are dispensing this advice, but I think that dispensing it in a more casual way than I think it should be. I think this is one of the most inspirational things you can do to become a great musician, or at least the best musician you can be, finding a music mentor. This is going to sound so obvious, and I know that you've probably thought about this, and maybe some people have talked to you about this, but I want to lay this on you as something that you absolutely have to do, because this could be the difference between you getting to the next level in your playing and not. The difference between you getting frustrated with your lack of progress, your perceived lack of progress, and quitting. So heed my words, my friends. Find a music mentor. So what do I mean by that? Well, there's a couple different things that I don't mean. One is your private instructor. Now, your private instructor could be an amazing music mentor, but not necessarily, because you could have a music mentor that's not your teacher, and your teacher doesn't have to be your music mentor, right? But they could be. What else don't I mean by music mentor? Because I'm talking about someone who's going to inspire you to be your best musical self. I don't mean famous people, right? Like you might be inspired by Alicia Keys playing on the keyboard, or listening to John Coltrane, or Adele as a vocalist. You may hear these people, Chris Cornell. My God, I'm inspired by Chris Cornell, but I can't really ask Chris Cornell any questions. Well, I certainly can now, unfortunately. But even if he was still alive, it's not like I can go to his house and say, hey, Chris, how'd you do that thing? So a music mentor is not necessarily your private teacher, and it definitely isn't a famous person. Your music mentor should be someone who you can see live, that you have the opportunity to have a personal relationship with. It doesn't have to be a friendship. It doesn't even have to be a formal sort of mentorship. It's just someone that you can see and talk to be inspired by, and get great advice. You're starting to kind of get the concept, right? So let's talk about who a music mentor could be. So, number one, it actually could be your private instructor, right? So, if your private instructor, obviously, they've got the skills that you like, I hope, otherwise, you wouldn't be studying with them. They know what your goals are, so they're bringing you to your goals. But it would be cool if your private instructor to be something beyond your private instructor. Could be maybe performing or recording or doing something outside of your little lesson room. Because if you're playing, if you're taking lessons with a musician, you're not really seeing them at their best. They're there to help you. If they're showing, if you're blown away by your instructor and all they're doing is like playing for your 30-minute or 60-minute lesson, fire that instructor. That is not a good instructor, right? So if you have a good instructor, they are working with you in the moment to bring out your best musical self and to work on the skills you're lacking. But if your instructor is playing live, you should go see your instructor. First of all, you go, well, let's see how good you play. And second, you might be blown away and like, wow, okay, this is what you do. This is your thing. Now I'm inspired. This is great. So you could have an instructor who can be your music mentor. It wasn't really like that for me coming up and studying with people. A lot of times my private instructors would become my mentors sort of outside of the lesson room. So whether they were playing live or maybe it was in college where they would also, I'd write songs and I'd bring it to them. What do you think of this? And I could go watch them play. So a lot of and for a lot of my former private students, I am now their mentor. I don't work with them weekly on their musical goals, but they'll call me. I mean, I've been teaching privately for 35 years. So I got a lot of former students. And people will pick up the phone, we'll FaceTime, they'll send me an email or drop me a message, and they'll be like, hey, man, can I send you one of my songs? I want to get your feedback. Or, hey, I'm trying to book these gigs and I need advice. Or, so I was their private instructor, but now I've become this mentor. It's sort of a more casual educational learning kind of a situation. Does that make sense? Let me get away from the private instructor thing though, because again, at practicewarriors.com, I have a whole unit teaching you how to find the perfect teacher. So I'm all about you taking private lessons, especially locally at your local music lesson facilities, your local store. That one-on-one thing, you can't beat it. Online lessons, they are fantastic as well if that's what you need to do. But let's get away from that and let's talk about well, I'll tell you my personal story and then see if you could set this up for yourself. I was living in Syracuse, New York. I was 18 years old and I was going to school at Oswego State University, which was about 40 miles north from there. And I had an instructor there at college. He was a guitar player. I was studying bass. And he said, my band's playing over the Christmas break. You should come check us out. And at the time, I was really learning about funk, slap playing, jazz, and fusion. I was getting into all this. This is like new and exciting for me. And I went to see his band play. And there was a bass player that was playing with my teacher, Joe Jewell. He was my teacher. And the bass player was a guy named Ron France. And he was playing all the stuff I was hearing. I was listening to Mark King from Level 42 and Stanley Clark and Marcus Miller with David Sanborn Band and Vale Johnson, who we interview on the Practice Warriors site with Kenny G's band. And I would hear these guys. And again, it's before video, And I'm like, what are they doing? What is happening? I wish I could play like that. I can't. I wish I could call them. What are you doing, man? Right? But I saw Ron France playing everything I heard. And it was like 37 years ago, 38 years ago. And I look how excited I am talking about it. Going to a local music venue, seeing a guy who I did not know, and he blew my freaking face off with his playing. And I was pumped. I want that is what I want to sound like. That is who I want to sound like. That is how I want to play. How do I do it? And when I went and saw my private instructor, Joe, I said, Joe, I love your bass player. I have to play like that. So Joe kindly, because I was too scared to approach these guys when they were playing. I'm like, I'm just this 18-year-old kid. I don't even think I was supposed to be in the bar watching them, right? And I was just I was excited. I saw my musical future. This is how I want to play. I never thought I could play that well or that way. But this guy could do it. He was alive. He was there. I could touch him and I could talk to him, and I didn't because I was scared. So my friend Joe, or my teacher Joe, said, "Here's his number. Call him." And I was sweating, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. He's gonna think I'm a jerk. I don't know. And so I called him and I said, Ron Franz, I love the way you play, and I want to come down to Syracuse and I want to do a 6-hour lesson with you. I want to spend the whole day with you, and I want to learn everything you're doing. And he goes, well, maybe a half an hour, we can do a lesson or whatever. So he was kind enough to, again, I was taking a lesson with him, but he wasn't my teacher. I had a private teacher. I loved my private teacher. He wasn't a bass player. He was a guitar player, but he was teaching me all this cool stuff. I loved it. I didn't want to give him up, but I wanted to study with this guy, or I just wanted to work with him, or just, I don't know, rub his arm or something. Give me some of that stuff, man. You sound great. So I went down to Syracuse. I had a lesson with him. He said, let's see about 30 minutes. After 2.5 hours, he was like, okay, we should probably stop. I was a sponge, man, and I took it all in because I didn't know if I'd ever get to work with this guy or whether he thought I was a jerk or whatever. This guy became one of my first music mentors. He was not my private instructor. I love my private instructor, and my private instructor was sort of a mentor too because I watched him play. But for some reason, I just loved the way this guy played. He allowed me, because I took a chance and reached out to him and talked to him. He sat down with me. He worked with me. I would continue to go see him play. And I think over a 5-year period, I had maybe 3 lessons with him, just 3, you know? And here I am 30 odd years, 35 years later, talking about him. And I actually invited him to lunch. I hadn't seen him in 30 years. It was like 7 years ago or whatever. Like I'd seen him like 25 years. And I wanted to give him, my solo CDs and the book I wrote for Hal Leonard and, the DVD concert film I did, like, hey man, this is what I've done, and he showed up. I still had great advice. So these people are folks that are in your hometown that are people that you can watch and you can strike up a conversation with. So how can you get your music mentor? Okay, so let me give you some advice on this. Number one, start to go out, if you're not already, to places that have live music in your town. Okay, not famous people, but local bars, local restaurants, local venues with local musicians. This is important. Go and see people. It could be as simple like a simple cocktail bar and you're a piano player and this guy comes in twice a month and he plays like Billy Joel and Elton John songs and you're just like, wow, he sounds great. That's exactly the way I want to play. Like anyone who inspires you. So go to these venues and see, who these people are. Like check your local listings or whatever. Find out. It may take you 2 or 3 months of going to these places and seeing local musicians until you find someone that you're like, oh, this person's great, right? And the second thing you have to do is you have to approach them, right? You got to walk up to them, introduce yourself, and you know what? I'm going to give you a script right now. Here's what you should say. Because a lot of you are going to be like, no way. Am I walking up to this person? I'm kind of shy and reserved, and this person may be a jerk, and I'm going to feel like an idiot. It's like, no, 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 man, don't feel like that. Here's what you do. You walk up to this musician you admire and you say, hey, how are you? Do you have a second? Do you have a second? I just want to introduce myself. And they may say, and they may be a jerk. Okay, well, then they're a jerk. Or they may be rushed or whatever. But if they're dismissive and rude, okay, that's probably not going to be a good mentor. So you didn't waste your time. They may be busy, so they may ask you to wait. But then they say, sure, man, yeah, what's up? Then you introduce yourself. Hey, man, my name's Christopher. Hey, I play piano too. And I just gotta say, man, I really admire your playing. I really admire what you do. I'm taking private lessons now, and I really hope to be at your level sometime. And then see how they respond to that. Because most people love when people come up and say nice things about them. Who doesn't like a compliment, right? Again, if this person's dismissive, if they're aloof or whatever, then okay, maybe you don't waste your time any further. But if they're really cool and they're receptive and kind back, now you got yourself a music mentor, maybe, right? So then maybe that's it. Maybe that's it for that night. And then maybe see them again, you know, and you go, hey, man, I introduced myself to you last time. I'm Christopher. Remember I played piano? Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. Christopher, how you doing? Yeah. And then oh, man, it's great. Hey, listen, I had a question for you. And then you can start asking them questions, right? And if you're not, I get so nervous talking to people, they're gonna think I'm a jerk, whatever. Come up with like 5 questions. Put it on your phone. Look at it before you go up. And what do you want to know from this person, right? So you could say, hey, I'm just curious, man. How did you learn? Like you played this Elton John song, and it was like really cool. Like, how did you learn that? You know, did you take private lessons? Do you know how to read? Are you learning by ear? And just kind of like you're kind of picking their brains a little bit, getting extra advice. Again, even if you have a rad from the 80s, rad private teacher, you might still be like, well, this person could give you information that your private teacher maybe never thought to give you, or maybe you're not where you're supposed to be at that time. But regardless, this person is going to give you some great nuggets. And then you strike up a relationship. Maybe you give them a DM. Hey, great job last night. Thanks for the advice. Maybe send them an email or whatever. They might be really great. Hey, man, just any questions you have, just shoot me a line. Yeah, no problem. And then, you get to know them. And then maybe you do what I did with Ron France. You go, hey, man, can I take a lesson with you? That'd be really cool. You mind if what would you charge? What would you charge? Oh, I don't really do lessons or anything. And it's like, okay, well, uh, maybe you show me what you do. Again, you might think this is a bridge too far for you personally, but I assure you, if anybody is rude or dismissive to you, because whenever someone's rude to us, we always feel like it was us. Uh, it's never you. It's usually them. If someone's rude or dismissive or arrogant, remember last week we talked about abolishing the ego. So any musician or any person that is like full of themselves or dismissive to you, that's their own insecurity. And you know what? They wouldn't make a good mentor. So if they're rude, don't worry about it. Find another person that plays real well. This is really what it's about. Again, if you the famous musicians, those aren't your mentors because you can't have dialogue. You can't ask them questions. You can be inspired by Jimi Hendrix, but you're not going to be able to get any information from him. But you go down to your local bar, your local restaurant, there's a local player that's just crushing it. That's a person that can get you advice. That's a person that can inspire you. You're right there. You can see them. And man, that could be someone that could help bring your playing to the next level. This guy I was talking about, Ron France, again, I told you, I only saw him for lessons like 3 times in my entire life. Yet here I am talking about him 35 odd years later, almost 40 years later. The funny thing is, when I went to my 3rd lesson with Ron, it was like maybe 4 years after I met him. I was just about to move to LA and go to the Musicians Institute that I was talking about earlier. I played a little bit for him. I'm like, man, this is what I've been working on with that stuff you showed me. Here's some other things that I've worked on. And he looked at me and he goes, Wow. Yeah. Honestly, man, I'm not really sure what I could teach you. You could actually start, you could probably show me some stuff you're doing. And he was serious. Like, I if you told me when I first saw this guy play that I would be like in his neighborhood and that he would be like, dude, what are you playing? I couldn't have believed it. But I think the fact that he inspired me so much that I was just driven. I want to play like you, so I'm gonna take lessons with you, and I'm gonna take lessons with you, and I'm gonna study this, and I'm gonna do this because I know now these aren't gods on Mount Olympus doing this. These are guys in my town, and I can do it. It makes the goal more attainable. So, how can you get your own music mentor? Okay, well, I already talked about it. First of all, it could even be your private instructor, especially if your private instructor is playing locally. Two, ask your private instructor. Say, hey, I'm loving taking lessons with you. This is great. Are there any other, whatever you play, like let's say you play sax, are there any local sax players that are playing live that I can go see that you think I would be inspired by? They'll tell you. They're not worried about it. In fact, they'll be like, oh, yeah, go see this guy. He's great. Or this woman, she's crushing it. So that's one way to do it. Two, talk to local musicians, right? So you go see this band and you talk with people. And maybe, look, maybe you don't even think they're that great, right? But you can go up and you can compliment them if you're serious about it, honest. Say, you guys sound great. I'm really just checking out, let's say you're a guitar player. I'm just really checking out a lot of guitar players. I'm trying to be inspired. You sounded great tonight. Are there any other guitar players in town that you think I should check out that are really good? So, talk to your private teacher. You talk to local musicians in town. Trust me, the local musicians know who the hot people are, right? Number three, you can do what I was talking about, do some recon work, go out and see all these bands. So find out where local music is, or where, yeah, local music's being played. Another way you could do it is you could talk to actual band instructors in the local middle schools, high schools, and colleges, right? I don't suggest walking into a high school. That's going to be weird. But you can go to their websites and they always have like, okay, this is the band program. This is the band teacher. Here's their email address if you have questions. Here's their phone number at the school in case you have questions. And sometimes they'll even show the artists in residence, the people who teach other instruments. So local middle school, local high school, local college instructors, they all know who the hot players are in town and people that can inspire you. And again, I think you could probably guess is that the type of person that you should look for to be a mentor. And again, a mentor, it's a casual thing. I hope you're discovering. One, they got to play in a way that inspires you. Two, they have to be the kind of person uh, that is open to talking to you, not arrogant, not well. Arrogant means they're insecure. So they have to be a good person. And three, they have to be sort of willing to, give you some advice. You can't just go up and just, fawn on them and they're like, yeah, cool, man, thanks. No, they have to be the kind of people that would that would give you some time. And look, you would be surprised. I mean, when anyone asks you for advice, aren't you just totally stoked? Like, wow, no one asked me for advice. Like, we're all kind of dying for attention anyway, right? And musicians are like always dying for attention. We just love attention. So if you come up to us and you're like, hey, man, I want some advice. Well, you're like just another form of an audience. So we're all about it, right? So ask these guys for advice. They will be more than willing to dispense it. And maybe, just maybe, even if they don't do lessons, they might be like, yeah, man, come by my place and or I'm teaching here or whatever, whatever casual way you can work with these people. Again, I think having a music mentor is really, really important because there are going to be times you're taking lessons or you're studying on your own and you're going to be frustrated and you may want to quit. And it's always a really great thing to have another person to talk to inspire you, because you could say, man, I've been working on my scales. I'm struggling. You sound so good, and you make it look so easy. And they can lay some serious truth bombs on you. Like, man, I was in exactly the same place you were. And you sound way better than I did at your stage. You're like, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so these people can be really inspiring for everything. Inspire you to practice more, to play more, and when you get in a funk, they can help pull you out of it, almost in a way that your private teacher can. You should have a private teacher, but also look for these other people that can inspire you to be your best. Does that make sense? Is it? I'm kind of going a little bit longer than I wanted, and hopefully I'm not talking in circles. Plus, I did the last class on Facebook and Instagram, so I'm making sure I'm hitting everything and not forgetting things. Now I'm not sure if I'm repeating myself. Um, so if you have any questions about that, drop it in the comments. If you have any questions about my background, or songwriting questions, touring questions, how to practice this, practice that, anything, drop them in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay of this, drop it in the comments. I promise you I will answer each and every question. Now, in the comments, where is it? It's over here. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere around here. In the comments, I dropped a link for you because you're watching this, for 3 free practice tools. I mentioned them a little bit in the beginning, but I wanted to get to the class. So let me briefly tell you what you're going to get for free for watching this. If you click on that link over there, it'll take you to a special page on my website, practicewarriors.com, special little URL. And you can get 3 free bonuses, free instantly in your email inbox right now. And here's what those 3 free bonus items are. 1, I will send you an 18-minute video lesson teaching you the 3 P's of music mastery. The 3 P words that you have to be aware of and you have to implement if you want to be the best musician you could be. Now, I guess you could figure out what the first P is. I think it's practice. Yeah, you have to practice. Everyone knows that. If you want to get good, you have to practice. Excuses be gone. And if you become a practice warrior, practicewarriors.com, we'll teach you the practice part. But there are 2 other P words that if you aren't aware of them and you don't implement them in your daily life, you will either not achieve the level that you want to, or you'll quit. These P's are important. So that's an 18-minute free class that you can have in your inbox. You'll have a link to it and you can access it forever. The second free bonus item you're getting today is my 28-minute video class called Speed Builder. How to play anything you want as fast as you want it. Now, if that sounds like a quick, rich scheme, it's not, because I show you a technique using the metronome to learn how to play any piece of music at whatever speed you want to play it at. Now, as you can imagine, this is a practice strategy. This is not a trick, So it may take you, if you implement this, 6 months to play the thing you want as fast as you want it, maybe even a year. But I have to tell you, I have played with some of the most jaw-dropping musicians you can imagine. And I had to learn their music. And it was music that literally, like when I heard it, I was like, no, I literally can't play. No, you don't understand. I don't play that fast. I can't do it. But I also had to eat. And this was how I made my living. So I figured out this method that worked for me. It's not unique. All the pros do it. But I just learned this way of using my metronome to build the speed of what I wanted to do. And all of a sudden, I was able to play things that just blew my mind that I was physically able to do. So this 28-minute video that is free at that link, right? I demonstrate in real time. I actually play something on the piano, which is like my 3rd instrument. I'm not as good at that as I am at the guitar, the basic guitar. And I demonstrate in real time how you implement the strategy. The third free thing you'll get is our booklet, The 15 Myths of Learning Music. And this is great because a lot of people have false ideas about what it takes to learn music. Oh, I got to practice for hours at a time. I gotta have talent. I don't have talent. No, it's bull. Some things are true, some things are false, some things are true, sort of. So this 15 myths of learning music is a great tool to just get your mindset ready for learning. And all three of those, because you were so cool to watch me here on YouTube, those are available for free until midnight tonight, Pacific Standard Time. So if you're on the East Coast, 3 a.m. And if you're in, right now we're in Europe. I'm in Europe right now. I'm set to do a nice trip to Turkey and India. We won't be live next Friday. I will be there doing some cool practice warrior stuff. We'll put it on the socials so you can check it all out. So if you do it by midnight tonight, you will get those 3 free bonus items, and you can sign up for a free 14-day trial for Practice Warriors. We have a 14-unit masterclass that teaches you all the practice strategies that the pros use. We have hundreds of musicianship videos that teach you specific musical skills. So we have 25 videos on how you can practice scales where you're not bored out of your mind. We have about 15 videos to show you how you can take those scales and turn them into great melodies and solos. Modes, chords and arpeggios, reading, rhythm and timing, dynamics, all kinds of stuff. We have dozens of interviews where we talk to people who've played with everyone from Thelonious Monk to Rihanna, and we ask them questions about practicing. We have a community you can talk to. We have live videos like this. It's an incredible site. It's been 35 years in the making. I think you're going to love it, and you get a free 14-day trial. Click on that link, and you can do it. And hey, by the way, if on the 13th and a half day, you're like, yeah, I'm not into this. First of all, we don't charge you. We don't charge you anything until after the 14 days. You can cancel your membership, and you get to keep the 3 bonus things I talked about. The 3 Ps video, the speed builder video, and the 15 myths of learning music. Cool. Yes. So sign up, take advantage of this. What have you got to lose? You've got nothing to lose. We don't charge you nothing. And you get 4 free things. Well, 3 free things, and then you get to try out the other one. Yeah? Okay. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'm not seeing any right now, which means I slayed this, and you don't have any questions because I explained it totally thoroughly. But if you do, drop them in the comments. And by the way, let me know if you enjoyed this class, if you enjoyed this. Like I said, I'm going to be in India and Turkey next week, so we won't do this. If we get enough feedback and people are digging it, then we'll keep doing it. And if people aren't into it, well, we won't, because it's Friday night and I want to party. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate it. I know you could be doing anything right now. So the fact that you're watching this, I'm honored and I'm blessed. And I really hope this advice helped you, because I love music. It has been the greatest gift in my life. I did it. I did it. I'm doing it. I've done it as a profession, and it's giving me just the greatest things in the world. But even if I didn't do it as a profession, even if I just worked doing whatever, and it was just something fun I did, it would still be just as much a piece of me and my life, and giving me so much joy and fulfillment as it would be if I was a professional. So I know that you can enjoy music as much as you want, regardless. You don't have to be a pro or anything. I know, and I also know that you can be as good as you want to be. We help you out at practicewarriors.com, but however you want to do it, I know you can do it. I have faith in you. And again, I'm just blabbering now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love you guys, and I'll see you in a couple weeks right here on YouTube. Please like and subscribe, and you can check out more videos that we have. We show a lot of free excerpts from the Practice Warriors website. So if you're like, I don't know if I really want to sign up even for the trial, watch some of our snippets, see if it gives you value, and go check it out. All right, guys. Thanks so much for checking in. We'll see you soon.